is talk a little bit about what happened today, what we learned. And then what we want to do is turn to you for action items. Things you're thinking could be done. Don't worry about how they're going to be done. We'll sort of talk with other people about that. But what should be done from your point of view? So Liv, do you want to give a quick summary of the day?
Yeah, so I think we've heard from just like a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different organizations, either personal perspectives or industry. So we had different areas that we have seen on how to drive refugees and immigrants forward in the STEM workforce. And I have some quick notes that I took from the meeting on some of the next steps, but again, we'd like to elicit your thoughts and feedback. But number one, it sounds like there are a diverse areas of partners that are doing different things, right? And so I think it's really important to kind of have that coalesced and have a stakeholder mapping of maybe Virginia, but from a local regional perspective, and then from a national perspective of all of those different areas where we're supporting refugees and immigrants, and how does that interlay across each of those domains, right? So it's all kind of this organization's doing this organization's doing this. How are those organizations cross-collaborating? And how do refugees and immigrants get resources to those organizations? So I thought that was one point, maybe having public-private partnership dialogues and convenings so that we can map those areas. Number two, it sounds like to me from a local regional perspective that we need to have a strategic a strategy around refugees and immigrants based on sector, as well as implementation and actionable items for each of those partners, and those should all be coalesced together. Number three, I think it's really important that we have policy that is actionable, and those policy recommendations that are coming from those public-private partners through that strategy to the Hill, but also to our state and local legislators. And then finally, number four is securing funding for these populations. How are we getting funding, not just to the households, but also funding for organizations to promote refugees and immigrants in the STEM workforce, and figuring out how industry can fund these participants in apprenticeship models, mentorship, and internships. So those are our four actionable items. And I think going forward, maybe having a series of other conferences with these stakeholders that have design thinking principles where we are working collaboratively to figure out those next step action items. So I would recommend in the next year, maybe hosting 1 to 2 conferences for follow-ons where we have not necessarily panels, but actually conducting workshops with those thought leaders on how we can take this forward from a Northern Virginia perspective.
Good. And thinking about what's going on in other areas, right, and connecting with them. I think that's going to be one of the things I took away from today is there is some redundancy. And so how can we kind of squeeze out some of that redundancy and take the resources and the effort and the goodwill and channel it in other directions to make the process work that much better. So I think that's going to be an important takeaway. But what about from all of you? Liv has gotten us started. Anything you would add to the list? And again, part of our follow-up is going to be reaching out to you as ways to, when you wake up in the middle of the night and say, this is what I should have said, that's going to be your opportunity to do that. And I promise, as a survey guy, there'll be no boring survey. It'll be shortened to the point. So what are your ideas?
Crucial we have the voices of the refugee community and what they think, or what actually not what they think, what they know they need, what they want. of course, it's so important we come together and talk because we understand the context of the US, but it's also, we can't only speak for what we observe, but what we hear from them.
No. I know what we're going to get you involved in is our immigrant stories part of the Institute for Immigration Research, where we combine those stories with some of the data and do a little bit about what Gary was talking about earlier. Was, Liv is talking about sector-specific strategic plans. There's also a geographic element to it. And so part of what we're going to be working on through the Hired Grant, the piece we're going to do at the IIR is some mapping of, where are the needs for STEM workers and where are the immigrant and refugee, well, we can find immigrant or foreign-born populations with census data. And, again, the typical sort of heat map approach of saying, here's where the two maps may converge. Here is where we find a need for STEM talent, and at the same time, we have people who are new Americans who could fill some of those needs.
Any other thoughts? I know it's Friday afternoon.
I have a thought as well. So one thing I would say that comes to mind, so I'm working on a project with some other universities across Virginia, and they have started to put together sort of a database across Virginia of, like where are the legal service providers who refugees in particular can access, where's English language classes. They're adding schools at the moment and trying to also add sort of a geospatial component to it. And so I'm actually thinking from this conversation, well, maybe we need to have like an employer contact, right? Like who do you contact if you're looking for, adult education services, or if you're looking for some refugee-friendly employers. And so I think maybe that's something that could be built into that and made publicly available, right, once it's set up and ready to go. So that's a good possibility as well.
Yeah, and Gary was not exaggerating when he talked about the registered apprenticeship website. It is amazing. I mean, the full range of apprenticeships, and that also they are able, by zip code, to identify where is a potential placement that an employer has already stepped up and said that opportunity is available. Lucretia, it's like you're ready.
Just to say, I just want to say, can't say thank you enough. I feel like the space is so special to like really have not only talk about making sure people are aware of the latest and sharing information, but also like really getting into actual plans, like having this space together with such such amazing people doing great work all over. I think it's just really rare still, and it's just really great, especially do it half in person, half online. Just to say, I think that the capturing of state and local resources, I feel like is absolutely crucial because there are federal standards and federally available resources for those with refugee status, but on a state-by-state basis, it varies what is possible, especially thinking through some of the great things that are available in Virginia for thinking about Welcome Corps on campus. Passing legislation that allows for refugee students to have in-state tuition is huge, as one thing. And so making sure that's known, especially as there are prospective groups on campus that would want to get involved, I think is really key, getting that information out there. I also want to uplift that one of the members of the consortium of partners for Welcome Corps is Refugee Welcome Collective, and they are working to uplift state and local guides across the US. So just want to lift it up. I'm happy to help connect, but they're working with state refugee coordinators, state refugee health coordinators in every state, as well as key actors to really combine and have a easy tool that stays up to date, that people can access no matter what type of actor they are about the resources available in their state. So I just want to lift that up since I know that's happening as a central place. And then secondly, I just want to say at large, it wasn't just me gushing, but Welcome Corps, it's more than just the program. It's a platform and an invitation to see how we all can engage with refugee resettlement in a new way. And so just want to uplift, I'm happy to have more technical nitty-gritties. I'm happy to help direct to a variety of partners around a consortium and wider network around it. But the sky is really the limit. Colleen is having another follow-up conversation, so she's not in the room right now, but she'll be back. But really with this, the State Department offered us the opportunity to think broadly, creatively about how we can go about this and iterate along the way. And so it's really like, who hasn't directly been involved? And the employers, I think it's like, what type of employers? Like the sports industry, for instance, like that's an example. You have a built-in group that can get involved. And so just really want to like put that out there as we all continue to think about it, of like, it's open to any actor really to get involved and see how they can contribute, which is really, just amazing. There's limited possibilities, unlimited possibilities.
Good. Other thoughts? No?
You'll have an opportunity with a survey. Well, thank you so much.
We don't call it I mean, I have this thing, I don't call it a survey anymore. It's a information interactional tool. But the point is, when you do that, the idea is not just to take your data, but thinking about, we can push some data to you too as well. And so we'll think about organizing our survey, our interactive informational tool, in the way that we're also going to give you something in terms of information for participating.
Yeah.
But thank you all.
Thank you.
It's been, I have a lot of ideas from today, and I think the resource sharing is going to be very, very important. And I'll put in a little plug, if you don't know about our IDOD service called Immigration Data on Demand. We've done about 75 of these for different stakeholder groups around the country, where we give you a chance we'll provide you customized fact sheet about immigrants in your geographic area. So if you know people that would benefit from having that information, we have a crack team led by Sandeep and Umaida and a couple of other of our graduate students that will put these together. And we're trying to get our time to delivery, we're trying to speed that up, but we will get it to you. So thank you again, and thank you, Catherine, and all of the helpers we had today. And I will say thank you to the Immigrant Learning Center and Sumit Srivastav, who have been really critical in keeping the IIR on track for the last 10 years. And we're going to hopefully doing this for 10 more years, at least, because it's a long game. All right, have a good weekend.
Thank you.